Call roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Hinchey? Mr. Hinchey?
Here.
Mr. Luther?
Present.
Ms. Nelson?
Present.
Ms. Reclue? Mr. Stone?
Present.
Mr. Washington?
Here.
Mr. West?
Here.
And Mr. Combs?
Present.
7 council members present, quorum met.
Thank you. Reverend, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Be honored to face the flag. Attention, salute, and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
Okay, we'll move on to comments from visitors. Anyone wanting to speak, please approach the podium and give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
David Hollaball, 8525 Pitcher Road, Fulton. I'm the treasurer of the Kingdom Pilots Association. I rent Hangar 19 at the airport. I'd ask you to keep 2 things in mind tonight as you vote on Bill 1743 to amend the rate book. First, at the City Council meeting on December 12, 2023, the Director of Administration stated regarding hangar rent adjustments at the airport, we will continue having discussions with you guys before we bring anything back to the City Council for their consideration for inclusion in the rate book. In addition, the minutes of the Airport Advisory Board meeting on March 5th, 2024 state regarding hangar rent adjustments, KPA will discuss further at their meetings as well as City in their meetings. It was decided to keep this on the meeting agenda for future meetings as well. The city has not met their stated commitment to discuss. 3-minute one-way comments prior to a city council meeting does not constitute discussion. Several of us have written you and engaged some of you in conversation in an attempt to provide information and otherwise collaborate to no avail. The city has not honored their pledge. Second, I ask you to remember the number 63. As the proposed rental rate at Elton Hensley will be 63% higher than the average of 6 surrounding communities if you approve this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
My name is Lance Campbell. I live at 4601 Nathaniel Drive in Columbia, Missouri. I'm going to just add a smidge onto the tail end of what Dave just said. I'll also echo that Dave's perspective that we're already 36% above the surrounding community if the proposed 20%, which I think that's going to be, it was a good discussion in the previous half hour of that may or may not happen, would put us at 63% above the neighboring communities. My only thing that I would like to connect the dots on is that if there's going to be an increase, which I understand if that has to happen, I mean, we all have to deal with that in all of our other facets of our lives, so that's understandable. What I would like to ask is that going forward for future years, that a CPI adjustment not be just taken as a blanket statement that this kicks in automatically. There needs to be a balance of comparative elements that we've been talking about the surrounding communities. So this is just purely my take on it. There's going to reach a certain percentage above the surrounding communities. It will have a significant impact. I can't tell you what that percentage is. I can't tell you if it's 35, 40, 50, 60. I would think once we start getting north of 50% above the surrounding communities, we're going to probably start seeing impacts. So I would like to say, if you're going to connect dots and say, we're doing this much this year, and next year we're going to do whatever the CPI is, that you connect with that a cap that equals 40% above the surrounding communities, some number that everyone can live with, so that there's not just over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years a runaway effect that kind of creeps in there, and the next thing you know, we look over our shoulders and we're 70% above the surrounding communities, and the train's already left the station, and you know, people are moving to other facilities. So all I'm saying is just connect the dots, figure out a percentage, and you know, test one, CPI is this, that's going to equal this. And then, okay, well, we're going to hit our cap, so that tempers there with what our communities do around us. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Ryan DeLashmuth. I live at 3405 County Road 328. I come before you to, again, just to simply ask why. In December of 23, the exact same rate was brought up and thankfully tabled until more information was gathered. So I sit here today, I must ask the question, why have we not had any more productive meetings since March of 24? We as pilots, tenants, and patrons of the airport have a vested interest in seeing it be healthy and well managed. Collectively, we have provided a lot of information to this council about surrounding airports and rates. And what sticks out the most to me is the fact we are approximately 35% higher than the average surrounding area. If the current proposed rates are passed, we'll be approximately 62% higher, and the automatic 5% increase per year, up to 5% is, come on. Seems to me that everything we have brought up prior to and since March of 24 has fallen upon deaf ears. My next question is, who is the controlling body for the airport? Who determines the budget? What is the overall plan? Every one of these questions could and would be easily answered if there was an advisory board. How hard would that be to establish or reinstate? What even happened to the last one? The next question is, what is the reason for the rate increase? Was there an increase in operating costs? Because as of current, we have no actual employees, and it is all shared resources for the maintenance. The city currently receives $125,000 from tenants and over $100,000 federally every year. I believe the only debt is from the new box hangers, of which the city only had to pay 10% of the cost and receives 100% of the revenue. City also makes money from ag land leases, which are they being hit with a 20% increase? University of Missouri Extension publishes data annually for cash rent prices. The current data shows the last two ag leases that were accepted were at less than the average rates, and I'm not sure about the current row crop tenant, but what does he pay? Is it at the current rate? If we want to increase revenue, why not build more hangars? Why not start selling jet fuel? Why not allow new ground leases instead of turning them away? We hear constantly we're subsidized, and yeah, that's correct. We are. As well as everything else that the city owns, maintains, or offers to the public. But is the subsidy actual money or the cost of the shared resources that we all use? The only way to sort that out is to unmuddy the financials of the airport, make them available to the public, remove the 100% depreciation of assets that only cost the city 10%, and reestablish an advisory board which would give tenants, patrons, an avenue to have an actual discussion, not just 3 minutes standing up here. One last point for you to ponder is when any of you face an unexpected rise in cost, do you just absorb it and go on, or do you start looking at alternatives? Because the thought of being 62% higher, we've already had several tenants that have voiced that they have already placed themselves on all their airport waiting lists. I'd like to thank the council for the 3 minutes, but I'd much rather have a two-way conversation along with every one of us here. And thank you to the CFO for actually getting up and stating some numbers, and y'all have an actual discussion.
Sorry to cut you off. That was 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, very good.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else. We'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Tonight, item A is morales and microbrews for May the 3rd and cancellation of the city council meeting on March 11th.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Very good. And do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Tonight, we have no unfinished business or new business. We'll move on to council concerns. Councilman Henchy?
There has not been a Public Safety Commission meeting since the last council meeting, and I have no concerns.
Thank you. Councilman West?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, the Human Rights Commission met last night. approve the minutes from the last meeting. We discussed the Celia Vigil and how well it went in December. Thank those that supported that, and it's also of to note that right before that, like, I think this was on Saturday night and Friday, Governor Parson actually pardoned her, so that was a cause for celebration. Right now, we're in the midst of the Fair Housing Month, so there's a contest, essay contest, or is it poster contest? Poster contest, sorry. And the theme that was selected last night is Together We Build a Neighborhood. It's for children in kindergarten through 5th grade, so we're taking a lot of measures to reach out to all the schools and churches throughout the community. And it's running from, well, it starts March 1st, but it's actually already up on the board through April the 4th. And then we're going to have a selection in the April meeting, and then presented at a council meeting, the award winners. Also discussed the Jane Biederman Fike Award, accepting nominations now through May the 22nd. And there was some brief discussion on the Juneteenth 2025, and how that needs to the planning needs to start happening for that. So, and with that, our next meeting is April 14th. Any questions from the council? Thank you, Kathy, for helping me out there. And I have no concerns at this point. I know we're looking forward to the weather tomorrow, so I know our city crews will be out as needed. Thank you.
Yes, we had a prep meeting this morning on that, so I think our crews are all aligned for whatever comes. Thank you. Councilman Stone.
Yes. We had a Historic Preservation Commission meeting yesterday. It was more of a work session than just one of our regular meetings. We're still working through our strategic plan of, laying out what the commission is here for and what we want to accomplish and how we want to have the biggest impact on the community that we can. There were a couple of budget items that the commission had requested during budget time, and those budget items, one, were approved for the budget, and two, we requested some expenditures, so we're going to be spending some of that money here in the next couple of months. May is Historic Preservation Month, and so that's mostly what we're going to be focusing our expenditures on. You've seen the blue signs in people's neighborhoods, in their front yards, identifying that their home is either on the Fulton registry or the National Registry, and we've needed to purchase a few more, replace some. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for approving those expenditures. We're also going to be sending out some postcards to folks that are within our historic district, but might not necessarily be, their home might not be individually registered, and to try and encourage and educate and offer that for those folks to be able to join the registry. And then I will just make a comment. The commission is here for education and advisement. Everything that we've got in our charter, I don't know if we have an actual charter, but everything that we've got in who we are and what we do in terms of a commission is education and advisory. It's not authoritarian. It's how can we help make it better. We have a step in the process when somebody applies for a permit to do some renovations or, renovations is the word I guess I was looking for. And we just offer that opportunity. Hey, if you want to change these couple of things, then it will place your home, it'll look more historic for the district that you're in, or just offer them some information. They might not know the history of their home. So there's been a lot of confusion over the last few years, that the difference between advisement and authority of that commission, and we're just here to make sure everybody knows the wonderful homes that they may have and the history behind them. Let's see. Yeah, the only, thank you for the Facebook posts in preparation for the weather. I saw where, Facebook post went out asking people to keep the cars off the road so that we can plow better. There was a Facebook post, tomorrow is actually a holiday for the city, and it will affect, trash routes for the Wednesday trash route, which will be Thursday, and hopefully the weather won't mess with the Thursday pickup, so. But just, thank you on those communications. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Luther?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Want to send some appreciation for the continued efforts on our crosswalk improvement plans. I did see some, what do we call those, orange barrels, construction barrels? You see on the side of the road? I see some staged at the crosswalks up there by Bartley. Hopefully that's for some upcoming work for those crosswalks, which be a much improvement for our children's safety there. Definitely the stoplights out here with the updated crosswalks, definitely much improved, and hopefully ultimately more safe as well. Again, back on the snow removal, a lot of appreciation for the last snowfall we had. I know several of us have worked with Steve and Courtney on some improvement opportunities, whether it's our own streets, even the airport as well. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to show some improvements there, and again, ultimately keep our people safe out there and make sure we're watching out for them as they continue to keep us safe on the road. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Combs?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The Planning and Zoning Commission has not met since our last meeting. We have our next one scheduled for February 25th at 5:30. And I have no concerns tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Washington?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There'll be a park board meeting coming up this Thursday, unless the weather prevent us from having it. So that's our next meeting. And just what the other concern, not concern, but the Carver housing, senior housing is moving along pretty good. There's some excitement about, people are excited about seeing that project on the move, and it's been pretty exciting just to see people in the community are really excited about that. Other than that, I don't have any other concerns.
Thank you, sir. A little bit about the Carver project. I went by there last night. They're making some big strides out there. They were there at 6:30 last night working, so, yeah. Councilwoman Nelson?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There has not been a utility board meeting since the last council meeting. I do not have any concerns, but I do want to give a big thank you to Parks and Rec. I was at the Recplex during a really busy time, and I saw many staff members, and I made the comment about how crazy it was. But the great thing is there was so much staff there manning the kids, and there's somebody that's sitting at the back door now, which I really appreciate. So I've noticed some improvements there, and I really appreciate that for my safety and for everybody else's. So shout out to Parks and Rec.
Thank you. I'm kind of excited about this. Bruce Hackman came to see me today, and today at the board meeting of the Historical Society, they have determined through research that August the 1st of this year will be the 200th birthday of Fulton. And so we talked about some things that we might do. They're going to form a committee, and so we're going to get together. And August the 1st this year is on a Friday. So we're talking about not doing something too elaborate, but having some kind of birthday party for Fulton. And so I was excited about that. He told me some history that they have researched and found that on August the 1st of 1825, 3 members 2 from Boone County and 1 from Audrain County, were appointed by the governor and the legislative body to come to Fulton or come to Callaway County and pick a spot for the county seat. At the time, he told me that the county seat was in Elizabeth, which was somewhere around Hams Prairie. And so they did their research, I suppose, and they decided that this would be the best spot for the county seat. And at that time, it was named Valero or something like that, after some French trapper or something. And so on August the 1st of 1825, they decided that this would be the county seat and the name would be Fulton. So we're looking into that, and I'll give you more information as it comes along, but I thought that was pretty interesting. Okay, we'll move on to resolutions. Resolution 3571. Councilman West, would you read that for us?
With great pleasure. Resolution 3571, MoDOT's Highway Safety and Traffic Division Grant. A resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri to file and sign all necessary documents in relation to an application for the Missouri Department of Transportation, MoDOT, Highway Safety and Traffic Division Grant, and establishing an effective date. I move for adoption of Resolution 3571 at tonight's council meeting.
Second.
Very good. Do we have any discussion on that? I think that's a grant we've had before, I believe. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very well. Councilman Stone, would you read Resolution 3572, the Sykeston Contract Amendment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 3572, resolution City of Fulton, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign all necessary documents in relation to an amendment of the 1976 power sales contract by and between City of Fulton, Missouri and the City of Sykeston, Missouri, and establishing an effective date. I make a motion that we pass resolution, that we pass resolution number 3572 at tonight's meeting.
Very well. Do we have any discussion on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, thank you. Now we'll move on to first reading ordinances. Councilman Henchy, would you please read Bill number 1742?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1742, amend and update city code provisions. An ordinance repealing sections of Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 1 in the Fulton City Code, updating residency requirement and property transfer procedures, and enacting a new legislation in lieu thereof. I make a motion to place bill number 1742 for second reading at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Second.
Thank you. This is kind of a housekeeping thing. Does anyone have any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask for a bathroom break, for a short recess for bathroom break?
What? Sure, let's take 5 minutes. Okay, Councilwoman Nelson, would you read Bill number 1743, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1743, Schedule of Fees and Charges, Rate Book amended. An ordinance amending the 2025 Schedule of Fees and Charges for the City of Fulton, Missouri, and establishing an effective date. Make a motion we place Bill number 1743 for second reading at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Okay, do we have discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. And I'm going to follow this up with a motion after we do discussion, but I would like for us to consider a 5% rate increase. The other things that we've done is a 3.4 according to the CPI, so it does match that CPI increase that would, you know, that's where the increases in materials and the increases in labor and all of that falls in, so we're staying with that. And then there's been a lot of conversations about being able to build up a reserve, and that way we can do some more improvements. We can apply for some more grants and pay for the matching and all of that. And we heard from Dustin that we don't, once we get paid from the FAA, we're not going to have a catch-up that we have to worry about. We're going to be break even. So, you know, and those are the things that I focused on in our earlier discussions over the last few months, is that we needed to catch up a deficit, we needed to make sure we were covering our cost, and we needed to put a little money in the bank so that we could do some improvements. And so I think we need to look at a 5% increase at those rates, on the airport rates. There's also a question on the ground lease of whether or not this is where that section belongs, and Brad's going to speak to that. But then we also have number 2 and number 3. I'm just going to go ahead and take my time while we've got it, and we can come back to that. 2 talks about Tanglewood weekend rates and weekday rates. The weekday rate line talks about except for holidays, but the weekend rate doesn't talk about including the holidays. I think we need to address what's the holiday rate. If it's not the weekday rate, then we need to identify it correctly in the weekend rate. And those are the items that I feel like we need to discuss for this particular ordinance.
I think for consistency's sake, why don't we start with the airport items, make any amendments that you'd like to make with that, and then Charlene is going to come up and give some clarification on the holiday portion.
Jeff, just to add to that comment, yeah, per our current discussion description in the rate book, it does talk about the Missouri CPI or a max of 5%, so I'm aligned on the 5%. The ground lease, my understanding, is based on a per contract basis, so I'm not sure this statement in here is applicable at all for ground lease. Is that right?
So ground leases are negotiated. That was included by the city engineer as a starting point, as a baseline. But absolutely, you guys can choose to take that out if that's what you would like to do.
Yeah, knowing that potentially each ground lease is going to be, you know, negotiated upon, I assume just get rid of the ground lease so we're not doing a blanket change potentially, and just have that on a as-needed basis. But
You said Kyle recommended this. I believe Kyle, I believe if he recommended this, we ought to stick to it.
I don't know that I agree necessarily with the 5%. You know, just looking back, since we didn't do any sort of increase whatsoever last year, and then we're trying to also catch up with this year, I think maybe 10% is more in line with where we should be. Only again, because I would like to see us do those projects as we move forward, and I want us to have the funding to do that. It would just be really unfortunate if we weren't able to sustain this entity. You know, I want to see us move forward. I want to see us grow this, and I want us to have the money that it takes in order to do that. And I also think that in funding this and what we've been doing in the past, we have to look out for our citizens. And we passed a rate increase for utilities last year, and that affects every single person in our community. And so for you to stand up here, Dave, and say that you don't believe that there should be a rate increase at all for you, I feel like that's really pretentious, because we are passing these increases for every single person that is in our entire city limits, and that affects them every day, their day-to-day. And so I just don't believe that not increasing this at all is right or fair.
Thank you.
I would, you know, I'd like to say something else, as I recall, when we discussed the consumer price index, or indexing our utility rates and our different rates to that late last year, it isn't an automatic thing. We're still gonna review the numbers every year before we agree to change them. So I wanted to, make that clear. Unless I'm mistaken, but that's what I recall. Okay, thank you.
Dustin, I have a question too. When was the last time that there was a rate increase? Just out of curiosity, because when Lauren said we haven't had a rate increase, when was the last rate?
At the airport?
At the airport, yeah.
To be honest, I'm not sure.
2019.
2019.
That also goes to show where our rates lie with everybody else. If our last increase was in 2019 and we're still that far above all of our neighboring airports, I mean, that says something for our rates right there.
And then to add to Dustin's conversation earlier, I still feel there's uncertainty on what the airport brings in. We all want to see it succeed. I feel we're all aligned on that. We want to see it grow. We want to see it be hopefully profitable in the future. But to try to make a decision on the 10%, the 15%, the 5% without really knowing, hopefully now that this black hole's gone, we'll really see that line of sight to the dollars coming in and out of the airport. As stated before, some previous discussions, we know salaries have gone up, we know things have gone up. Looking at this, 5%. Starting there, we're going to come back this in the fall, and we should have a very good understanding from the accounting side of this is everything that the airport did, and hopefully it's going to really open our eyes and say, holy cow, we're doing well. And it may not, but that's why we revisit it every year. And to Mike's point, we don't have to raise it, but we have that opportunity to at least revisit it, have the discussions yearly to see where we stand, and make sure that, one, we're being successful, and two, we're still hopefully driving competitive business out there. So.
Councilman Stone, earlier you said 10%, and then you rescinded down to 5%. I'm just curious why.
Because the CFO made the statement about us being break even after I made the comment about the 10%. I thought we were still way behind and needed to catch up on cash, but that changed with his statement.
Okay, thank you.
I say I think the 5's good, at least as a starting point, but also in considering of rates, looking at the added, like actually taking this next year to look at the added benefit to the community that may be monetary, that's just not reflected in the revenue stream of the current airport. Because I think there are some ways to look at where it's bringing in revenue in places that aren't counted as revenue for that, or where there might be opportunities to bring in revenue from people that are using the airport but not paying for it because they don't lease from us there.
It's been mentioned, but keep in mind that, of course, it's up to this body what we do, but every year it would come back before us, before any raise, just like any other entity in the city. And also, I might add that Mexico subsidizes their airport.
Mayor. Okay. To your point, Alan, I mean, there's people that use the roads going through town that don't ever buy gasoline in town either. So, I mean, or don't stop and buy anything else. So, that's part of being a public entity is if we have a public facility, it's open to the public. So it sounds silly to say, I guess, but, you know, it's no different in this case. There's just fewer people that are gonna use the airport than the roads, obviously.
And to add to
It is
that, we were
one
talking
more
about
means
the,
of transportation into our community.
Sure, absolutely. And I don't deny its economic benefits.
that's kind of how I was envisioning, Councilman Combs' comment is, how do you see that economic impact that's posted out on the websites? How do you see that in real dollars in the city to account for that? And I don't know if there's a good methodology. I'm sure we could figure out something, maybe at least try to show that, hey, it's making some money, more money than we expected, but again, those may not be the real dollars, it's the economic impact, so it's hard to put a number on it. But again, there's posted information out there that Mr. Hollowell spoke to on that.
In the past 3 years, have we saw any economic improvement or anything that we benefit from it in the last 3 years? How do you expect, do you think we will be expecting that we're going to grow? This is going to, my question, that's what I'm wondering.
There's upwards of 4 to 6 businesses that want to come out to our airport. A lot of these are contingent on working through an acceptable ground lease to get them to come out. So that's business. There's been businesses we've missed opportunities because we weren't quite ready for an acceptable ground lease. There's other discussions, brainstorming plans of other ways you can have, I don't know how the airport community feels about it, they're called air parks. You build a subdivision out there, they have HOA fees, they feed back into the maintenance of the airport. There's a lot of things you can do with an airport such as ours to continue to grow it and bring money in and just make it a better investment. So lots of opportunities. We just got to, again, as a city entity, really just see the value and all agree to put into it. So.
Do we know how many businesses operate out of the airport, like as a business, whether it be owns a hangar, uses a hangar, where they're seeing some sort of, I'm thinking like if a business is using it and collecting sales tax, that income's not coming in as airport revenue, but coming in as sales tax in another way. I know you don't have to charge sales tax on services, but I know how sales tax works from having to pay my own, so.
We can provide you some clarity on that after the meeting. I'm sure the city clerk can do that. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Well,
What's the open amendment on the floor? And I'm asking for guidance
do we
on the
need to
ground
talk
lease.
about 2 and 3? I'd have an amendment to make, but I think my amendment's also going to include a change to number 2.
I would go ahead and just, again, to keep everything kind of clean, go ahead and make your amendment on each section at a time, just so that way it doesn't get confusing and we know what we're amending, and then we can do a final motion to move it forward as amended with everything.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, when I make this amendment for a rate increase, do I need to give you the individual numbers?
I would like that.
Okay, I have it.
Perfect.
All right. I'd like to make an amendment to Bill number 1743 to the motion on the floor to calculate the airport rates at a 5% increase. So HRA would have a new rate of 179. HRB would be 164.
Mr. Stone, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I see what you're saying. A general 5% will be great.
Okay.
I apologize.
Thank you very much. That's, I wrote them down just in case you needed them.
My fingers are cold and I am a little slide.
And to clarify, the original bill for HRD did not have a rate increase, but my amendment is suggesting a 5% rate increase on HRD. That's my motion.
A second.
Okay, we do have discussion on the amendment.
I do have a clarification point. Originally, you had also requested to remove the ground lease portion. You can roll that into one motion if you guys are in agreement about it. that might make life a little bit more simplified.
That may need help clarification. Is it, I mean, the ground lease statement about looking at the CPI at the end of the lease may be acceptable, but my understanding is that each lease is agreed upon via contract, so I'm not sure the numbers really is.
Yeah, so each lease is separately approved by the city council. So those rates can be negotiated, and then city council would, again, approve those on a case-by-case basis.
Well, it does say new rate begins at end of current agreement term. So it would be a renegotiated thing, and I think this is more like a guideline.
It is. It is a guideline. So again, I think that there's merit to whichever direction you guys want to take this. I just didn't want us to move beyond this amendment if your intention was to remove that portion.
I believe.
Okay.
I'm just a voice.
Yeah. And, yeah, I don't see that it's an issue, but, and honestly, I think we'd be better served to go to 10%. So that's where I'm.
So Jeff, you want to add that to your,
But we can vote where we are at right now and then go.
What I would prefer to see us to push the bill through, but give a discussion for the next reading.
I think what would probably be most appropriate right now is, since we have a motion and a second on the floor, to go ahead and vote on that amendment. And if it passes through, that'll be your answer there. And if not, then certainly there will be an opportunity for a new motion to be made. I think, Madam Clerk,
Okay.
would you agree?
okay, all in favor of the amendment stated by Councilman Stone, please say yes.
Yes?
Opposed?
No.
Would you take a voice poll, please?
Mr. Hinchey?
No.
Mr. Luther?
Yes.
Ms. Nelson?
No.
Ms. Reclue? Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Washington?
No?
Mr. West? Mr. Combs?
Yes.
There's 3 council members in favor, 4 council members opposed.
All right, so that amendment does not pass.
No.
So a new amendment can be made, or it can be moved forward with the existing rates.
I make a motion, we change it to 10%.
Okay, do we have discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor of Mike's motion of 10%, please say yes.
Yes.
No?
No.
You do a voice.
Goodness. Ms. I'm sorry, I started with Mr. Hinchey last time. Mr. Luther?
No.
Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Reclue? Mr. Stone?
No.
Mr. Washington?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
No.
Mr. Hinchey?
Yes.
This time we have 4 yes votes and 3 no votes.
Okay, that doesn't pass. In case you're wondering why, we have to have 5. Okay? Then we'll go back. Not a tie. So we'll go back to the regular motion, and we'll vote on that.
The rest of it.
Unless
before we
somebody
vote
wants
on
to make another amendment.
We could postpone.
Till we get it together, what we want to do.
You can also make a motion to move it forward to second reading at the next regularly scheduled meeting, which is still another, similar to a postponement, but just moving it forward.
Yes, that's right. Let's make it the next meeting. I make a motion that we postpone.
we've already got on the table
That's it.
to move it to second for next reading, or next meeting. Correct. Right. Or we can vote it down and start all over, I guess.
If I may, would you be agreeable to meet in the middle instead of 5 and 10 at 7? Would you be agreeable to meet in the middle?
I'd rather wait for more information. Right now, I'm acting off the information that we are break even with the airport and that the rates are higher than everybody else around us. And so I'm still not understanding the need for a rate increase, especially an aggressive one at either 10 or 20% with those two pieces of information. If our CFO can provide us more details to where I can understand why we're needing a rate increase. You know, if there were grants that we applied for, but we had to decline them because we didn't have the matching funds, you know, I guess I'm not seeing the numbers right now for a rate increase. And so your question about meeting in the middle, no, because I think even 5% is still too high at this moment, based on the information that we have.
So if we move it to second reading, and Dustin, you get us the numbers in between so we have a little bit more information, then we could rediscuss at the next council meeting. And hopefully everybody's present for that then.
Okay, then we'll move on with the vote.
Well, I would still hold for just a moment. And
Yeah.
Charlene, could I get you to come up so we can answer some questions about the parks piece? There was a question that was asked about the holiday rate, and I think in talking with you, maybe there was some wording that got lost in translation. So could
Yeah.
you talk about the holiday rate versus the weekend and the weekday rate
Yeah.
at Tanglewood?
Yep, sure can. Charlene McArter, Parks Superintendent. I apologize if the memo was a little willy-nilly, but to clarify, we didn't identify what weekend rates and weekday rates were in the rate book, so we wanted some clarification put in there. Weekday rates are Monday through Thursday, and weekend rates are Friday, Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays.
Somewhere else in the rate book, we have a rate for holidays.
Okay?
Or, no, question mark.
Not to my understanding.
Okay, I just want to make, you know,
Yeah.
if we were clarifying.
I thought you were
these-
telling me that,
No,
sorry.
No, that was my question.
I was like, okay.
If the clarification was just on those two, but maybe we do have a bullet point somewhere that says, this is our holiday rate. If we do not, then we need to clarify, what rate am I going to pay if I play on a holiday?
Okay.
Am I going to pay the weekend rate, or am I going to pay the weekday rate? Well,
So-
according to this clarification, it's saying we're not going to pay the weekday.
Correct. What we've done and how we've operated, the weekend rate applies to the
Okay.
holidays.
And I think we just need to add that
Yeah.
to that first bullet. Is it weekend rates or to apply for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and holidays?
Okay, any other questions on item 2 or 3 while Charlene's up here? And we can certainly make an amendment, Councilman Stone, if you would like to make an amendment to that effect, adding the word "and holidays" on bullet point 2, just so it's recorded.
Make a motion on section 2 of bill number 1743, first bullet point, Tanglewood weekend rates are to apply on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and City of Fulton holidays? Is that
City recognized holidays.
city recognized holidays?
Appropriate.
Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion on that?
So we would strike the second bullet at the end where it says except for holidays?
No, maybe just have clarity both.
Yeah.
Seems redundant to me.
No, no, no. That was the question about the second bullet, is it redundant by adding it to the first?
Yeah.
If we're putting this in there for clarification, that's, my motion is that.
Yeah, I don't, it doesn't hurt me one way or the other, to be honest with you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? No. Don't you know?
What? No, I didn't say no.
Okay, now I believe we are back to the original motion at hand, which is moving Bill number 1743 with this new amendment on Section 2 to second reading at the next council meeting.
Okay.
That's what you thought you were voting on, wasn't it?
Does anyone have any questions on what we're voting on? Seeing none. All in favor of bill number 1743, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
No.
You want to do a voice vote?
Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Reclue? Mr. Stone?
No.
Mr. Washington?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
No.
Mr. Hinchey?
Yes.
Mr. Luther?
No.
I have 4 yeses and 3 nos.
So the bill fails. Okay, we'll move on to second readings. Councilwoman Nelson, would you read bill number 1739, please?
Mr. Mayor, Bill number 1739, Nichols Street Bridge Replacement Project, an ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to sign all necessary documents in relation to the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, OFF, System Bridge Program Agreement to fund the replacement of the Nichols Street Bridge, bridge number 1555004 in Fulton, Missouri, and establish an effective date. Make a motion, we place bill number 1739 for third reading at this council meeting.
Second.
Very well. Questions?
Just a comment that this is absolutely wonderful.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
If Kyle could have done anything to put a pin in his career here on his way out the door, this is absolutely wonderful.
Cherry on top of the sundae.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agree.
Okay, all in favor of bill number 1739, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Very good. You want to read that again for us, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1739, Nichols Street Bridge Replacement Project, an ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to sign all necessary documents in relation to the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, OFF, System Bridge Program Agreement to fund the replacement of the Nichols Street Bridge, bridge number 1555004 in Fulton, Missouri, and establish an effective date. Make a motion for final passage of bill number 1739 at tonight's council meeting.
Second.
Very well. All in favor of bill 1739, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Madam Clerk, would you call roll, please?
Ms. Reclue? Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Washington? Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Hinchey?
Yes.
Mr. Luther?
Yes.
Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
All council members in favor.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to bill 1740. Councilman Hinchey, would you read that for us, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1740, Airport Infrastructure Grant Agreement. In an ordinance with authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to execute all necessary documents related to the airport infrastructure grant agreement for project 24040 Alpha 1 with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for airfield maintenance and drainage improvement at the Elton Hensley Memorial Airport and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to place bill number 1740 for reading at this council meeting.
I second third reading at tonight's meeting.
At the third reading.
Any discussion? This is a 10% matching grant. I think it's for 33,000, okay. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Councilman, you read that again for us, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1740, Airport Infrastructure Grant Agreement. An ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to execute all necessary documents related to an airport infrastructure grant agreement for project 24-040 Alpha 1 with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for airfield maintenance and drainage improvement at Elton Hensley Memorial Airport and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to place bill number 1740 for final passage at this council meeting.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Oppose? Madam Clerk? You gonna run out of paper?
I'm getting pretty close to the edge, yes, sir. You guys need to agree. So, Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Washington? Yes. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Mr. Hinchey?
Yes.
Mr. Luther?
Yes.
And Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Reclus is absent. 7 council members affirmative.
Thank you. Councilman West, would you read bill number 1741 for us, please?
Yes, sir. Bill number 1741, ordinance number blank. Append Fulton City Code, Chapter 46, Environment. An ordinance appending Fulton City Code, Chapter 46, Environment by adding Article 4, Construction Site Runoff, and Article 5, Illicit Discharge Detection and Elimination, and establishing an effective date. I move that we deny bill number 1741 at tonight's council meeting.
Second.
Very well. We have a motion and a second. Do we have discussion?
To clarify, we will have a new bill. I appreciate,
Yes.
Councilman, that you discussed that. We'll have a new bill that'll come forward after our city councilors had an opportunity to provide some guidance. I do want to just reiterate that we will have to have these regulations in place to a degree in order to meet our MS4 requirements through the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. However, we absolutely recognize the concerns that were addressed at the last meeting. So at a future meeting, you'll have a new bill once we've had an opportunity to speak with our city councilor.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Councilman West, second? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very well. We have several announcements. February the 12th and 17th, the 12th being tomorrow, city offices will be closed. Solid waste collection for these days will occur the following day, hopefully Thursday. We may not. The Recplex will be open on February the 12th with regular hours and close the 17th. All emergency services will continue normal operations. The next council meeting will be February 25th at 6:30. Any questions?
I do have just one last thing. So as was mentioned earlier this evening, our police department put out some notifications about asking people not to park on the roadways due to the incoming inclement weather. Again, we really ask for anyone who's able to park in a driveway or not park on the street to have those vehicles removed. Chief Ladwig, you might have to correct me on this, but I believe it was 3 a.m. tomorrow, overnight tonight, into 10 p.m. on Thursday. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. So any assistance that any of our citizens can provide will certainly help those crews to be able to remove that snow efficiently and effectively. The other thing, I just want to give a shout out, because I'm sure they're going to do a wonderful job, to those snow removal crews. Again, we always appreciate that they show up when we need them most, and I have no doubt that they will do a great job. And then I do also want to just reiterate that you can sign up for email notifications on our city website. You can also sign up on Smart 911 through Callaway County EOC if you would like to receive emergency text alerts. And we also provide a lot of updates on our social media pages. So certainly keep an eye out on social media if you're signed up for our email notifications. And then on Smart 911, in the event we do need to modify a solid waste pickup or anything like that, those are the best ways to get information directly from the city and avoid any misinformation. And that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.